Hello, and welcome to this edition of News from the Hill. I'm Elizabeth Sloan Ragland, and of course, on this program, we try to bring you interesting, intriguing people, places, organizations, and events. They can be in the community, and they can be on the beautiful campus of Alabama A&M University. We've even had guests who are from out of the country, all over the country. So we think today we have a wonderful show for you, interesting guests, and an interesting topic. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about themselves, and then we are going to talk about our topic at hand. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. My name is David Harford. I am the marketing director for Good Samaritan Hospice. I've been involved in the healthcare field for about 20 years. I'm an alumni of University of Alabama in Huntsville. One of the areas of my expertise is going out and actually educating the public on what hospice, what we do, and services that we do provide.
Okay.
My name is Marcia Burnett, and I'm a retired administrator from Oakwood University. I was the Assistant VP for Advancement and Development there and Director of Sponsored Programs. However, when I retired, the Lord called me back to do my first love and first profession, and that was in nursing. So got my license reactivated, and I'm with Good Samaritan Hospice as their marketing assistant and their volunteer coordinator. And I love being able to do what I'm doing now.
There's life after retirement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I had to have a special exception to retire. I was so young.
Okay, then. And you, sir?
My name is Jim Pride. I'm Director of Community Relations for Good Samaritan Hospice. I've been with the company for a little over 5 years now. Thoroughly enjoy my work. Like David, a big part of my job is to educate the public on the benefits of hospice. And then I coordinate the advertising and assist them with the marketing.
All right, then. Well, again, welcome to all of you, and we are going to talk about hospice. There are a number of myths about hospice, and we hope to address some of those today. But first, let's just talk about what exactly is hospice and hospice care.
Well, in a nutshell, hospice is where a specially trained team of medical professionals cares for an individual who is suffering from a terminal illness. When the focus has moved from curative medicine, which is to cure a disease, to palliative care, which is to control the symptoms and ease the pain. That is, in a nutshell, what hospice is. There's a lot more to it than that, though, of course.
Okay. Yes, you want to share with us?
My perception as far as hospice goes is hospice is not necessarily synonymous with death and dying, and that's what most people think it is. It's about providing the love and care when there's nothing else to give. When there's nothing else, we're all going to die. So it's not about dying. It's about providing that care and that love at that time.
And many times, hospice, the services that we provide many times are for the family members as well as for the patient. Okay. Our family members, they benefit greatly from the services that we provide. Some of the services that we provide, we help and facilitate them getting their medicines. A lot of times, and also respite care. Respite care is one of those things. We have something called caregiver fatigue. A lot of times when we're taking care of loved ones, we just get tired and we're not able to take vacations anymore. And so what we do in hospice, we help facilitate, that family member being able to take a break. And we do that a number of different ways. And one of the ways that we do it, we partner with some of the local nursing facilities and allow that patient to go in and stay for a few days just so the family members can have a break or have that needed vacation.
In my research, that seems to be an area that many people forget about.
Absolutely.
That the caregivers have to also have some support.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We find quite often that when all is said and done, we feel like that we have done as much for the family of the terminally ill individual as we have for that individual. We help with educating these caregivers on what to expect, there's a bond formed between the hospice team and the caregivers. And these ladies who are our case managers can walk that family right through this process so they know what to expect. And there's always, the great thing about it is that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there's always somebody who they can pick up the phone and call that will answer, and if need be, will come to the house, any time of the night or day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because one of the things that, one of the things that we like to, family members, this is the first time a lot of folk will come in contact with hospice is when they need hospice. So with that said, a lot of the information you may not know until you need it. It's a needed service.
Right.
So what we find, me, Jim, and Marcia, what we find a lot of times that when somebody is burdened with that terminal illness, it's what choice do I make next? What do I do next? We have in many cases helped family members get equipment delivered home, even sometimes before the patient is discharged from the hospital. That is, that's actually a worry they don't have to, a burden they won't have to have on their shoulders when they're worried about, this person's making a transition, a life transition. So they won't have to worry about that burden at that time. And because what we really want is that family member to be able to experience those last precious moments with their family member who has this terminal illness. A lot of times, with stress and things of that nature,
Right.
This is new processes they're having to deal with. One of the mottos that we talk about is your choice. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, and I'll let Jim elaborate on what sets us different, because when we say hospice, there's a lot of hospice companies. And when we say it's your choice, what we want family members to know that, when that decision is being made, how do you navigate to make the right choice?
Okay,
Yeah.
but before we make the right choice, as you said, we have to know what is out there, what is available. So what is the process? For example, if you have a family member, that family member is terminally ill, who decides when it's time to bring hospice in? Is it the family making calls? Is it the doctor determining that now we need hospice care? Walk us through that process. How does that work?
Well, I'll start.
Sure.
Okay, I'll start. First of all, anybody can make a hospice referral. Anybody can make a hospice referral, but it's the physician that will get an order to go into treat and eval. We'll facilitate in getting that information from the family doctor, and then we will see if that person's appropriate for hospice. But if you have a question or you have a concern whether or not a family member is actually appropriate for hospice, we would like to encourage you to just call us. And because we have a team of nurses that can actually go out and do an evaluation on that patient.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, and one of the things that David mentioned earlier is that you know a little bit more. So if you are faced with this situation about what's going on, because quite frankly, our tagline is it's your choice, ask for us by name, because we feel like that you do need to do your research. And it's okay, to look around. If the physician or the nurse says, well, I want you to go with hospice ABC, it's okay to look at hospice XYZ too. This is something that you need to do for yourself, because quite frankly, there are, while all hospice companies offer the same basic care, there are different company philosophies with any business, because hospice, most people think of it as a generic term, but it's a business.
Okay.
So we encourage people to educate themselves before the actual need arises.
So like with anything else, there are choices.
Absolutely.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
not just one brand, but choices, and you have to do your research
Yes,
again.
ma'am.
Okay.
And, talk to several, and as David said, we'll happy to come out and talk to a family. And this is a no obligation consultation. And then you can make your choice on who you feel most comfortable with.
In the event a patient does die, we do follow up with bereavement care and chaplain services for, a whole year?
13 months.
13 months after, because the first year is generally the hardest year when you've lost a loved one.
Right.
And so we continue to follow up with that family for 13 months after the patient has deceased.
And that is one of the most important things that we do, the spiritual guidance that we can give our patients. Of course, the hospice medical team is made up of a physician, we have nurse practitioners, we have a RN who is the case manager who oversees all of the patient's care. And along with that, we have CNAs, which are certified nursing assistants that assist the patient with their personal needs, such as bathing, changing bed linens, things like that, even doing some light housework. And then we do have the social workers who check on the patient's well-being. Are they in a good spot, that they're being properly cared for? And then back to the chaplains, and we've just got two great chaplains, Doug Simons and Keith Lorick, and we find it, I hate to say humorous, but it's kind of odd that so many times you'll have a patient who is unchurched. And that, well, we don't want the chaplain coming out, you know, we don't want that.
And you have the option.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
But what we love about this is these guys, you know, if they want to talk about football, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, and you will see the curve turn to where that patient then will seek spiritual guidance, and that's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely.
And so many times they will request that one of our chaplains perform the service. So it's really a really all-encompassing help for the family and patient.
And you know, one of the things with Good Samaritan Hospice, it's not just a regular job. It's a job where you can actually make a difference in a person's life. For instance, with being a cancer survivor, I've noticed that, you know, when you have that, when you get that diagnosis, life-altering, it's a change. Now you're
prepared for
never
that
prepared
message,
for it.
are you?
You never prepared.
Right.
And it will change the rest of your life. Now, if there's an agency that can help assist you in making decisions, that can take some of the pressure off, you know, of what your day-to-day activities, what we call ADLs, then, you know, that's a godsend.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a complete family approach that you're looking at.
Absolutely.
Again, not just the patient, but
Absolutely.
the family.
Absolutely.
And caregivers.
And anything that we can do within our power, within our scope. A lot of times, you know, Jim mentioned our chaplains. We've had chaplains at 1 o'clock in the morning, they'll go out sometimes when there's a crisis in the family. We've even helped, you know, we can get the number of the funeral home and things of that nature. So you could just grieve. You don't have to worry about getting that paperwork and all that stuff together, because we can get it together for you. So, I mean, it's just the sad thing that we noticed when I started doing this a couple of years ago, me and Jim and Marcia, we've noticed that a lot of people come on hospice too late. And this is what I mean by too late. Sometimes they're not able to use the service. They can use the service, but they'll come on and the next day they may have passed away. Whereas they qualified 6 months ago.
Yes.
And that family carried that burden for 6 months, and they really didn't have to.
And so again, it's timing, and you have to have the knowledge to know when it's appropriate, when the right time has come, right? And there's guidance provided, as we talked a little earlier. You have a group of individuals, the doctor and all of this. It doesn't just fall on the family to try to make these decisions.
Absolutely.
I wanted to mention that sometimes we can provide hospice care. Let's say, for example, that you had cancer and you were getting chemotherapy and you cannot tolerate the chemotherapy, and they've done everything they could do. Now what? The cancer's still there and you're at home and you still need help. It doesn't mean that you're going to die tomorrow or the next day, but we're there to provide that care for you, because once the chemotherapy stops, the cancer is going to do whatever it's going to do. Congestive heart failure could be another one. COPD, that's congestive obstructive pulmonary disease. Dementia and Alzheimer's. It doesn't mean that we have one client that's been with us, what, over a year now?
Okay.
And they're just leveled out, but they're not going to improve. But we provide that care for them.
And so there is not like a time limit.
No.
When you go in to work with the patient and the family, it's not like you allow 6 months. You work with that patient based upon need and where that
Yes.
person is in the cycle of
Well,
life.
As long as they are still hospice appropriate.
Exactly.
Now, the new guidelines state that we have to look at our patients. They have to be examined by a nurse practitioner or a physician every 60 days. It's what's called a recertification to make sure that they are still hospice appropriate. But the straight point is that we never leave a family high and dry. And if it comes a point, for instance, if we evaluate a patient and they're not hospice appropriate, we're going to point them in the right direction to go. We're not just going to say, oh, sorry, we can't help you. We're going to find them some help, whether it be home health or non-medical in-home care, whatever the case may be. We're not going to leave them hanging. We're going to find them some help.
Okay. Now, I keep hearing the term hospice appropriate. And so, again, we need to explain what that means, because I'm sure there are many people who are wondering, again, hospice appropriate. What does that mean? So tell us again what hospice appropriate means.
Hospice appropriate basically means that there's a certain set of criteria that the patient must meet to be hospice appropriate. Now, this varies. The criteria would not be the same for a cancer patient as, say, it might be for someone with congestive heart failure. I'm not a medical professional, so I cannot take you through that step by step. But there are certain criteria that patients must meet to do with their health in order to be eligible for hospice services.
And what I would like to add on to what Jim is saying, any family member or any person who gets a terminal diagnosis, it would be in their best interest to call our office. And because it's a case-by-case basis, once you get that terminal diagnosis, and normally 6 months or less, the doctor says you have, sometimes it can be more, but any terminal diagnosis, it doesn't hurt to call. Because what one person may qualify for, because this is a federal entitlement, hospice care. So the qualifications, and we work within the guidelines, federal guidelines. So when we say hospice appropriate, it's not guidelines that we've created. It's actually guidelines that was created by the federal government. And so that's why we have specialists in our office that can actually help case by case. So when that person calls in, we can get the medical records, because it would be hard for me to say, like for instance, when I talked earlier about being a cancer survivor, a person could look at stage 4 and say, well, this is your statistical, statistically you're supposed to only make it 5 years within this range, but everybody's a case-by-case basis.
Right.
Okay, so we can't look at this stage 4 person and that stage 4 person and say they're the same, because the prognosis of a disease operates different in different people. And also the care team of that person's physician. We have medical directors, but we do allow the patient to continue to be seen by their own medical director. So that medical director, we have to see what they say about the whole prognosis, because they a lot of times have a better history of that patient than we would. So it would behoove them to call our office. Any terminal diagnosis, or even if there's a diagnosis you think may be terminal and you're just not sure. We have a team of nurses that specialize in answering these questions, and they'll be more than willing to answer them for anyone who calls.
Okay. You use the term entitlement, federal entitlement. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Can we use Medicare?
It is actually the federal hospice benefit. It's most commonly paid for by Medicare or Medicaid. You do have some private insurance that pays for hospice, and but one of the important things to remember is the ability to pay is not a requirement. If you don't have these benefits, you know, you're still entitled to hospice care.
Say that again.
Yes.
It's very important.
I'm sure a
Yes.
lot of people
It's very important.
need to know that.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
They may forego the care, thinking that they cannot have that care. Is that
Well,
right?
and it goes back to what David was just saying, investigate.
Absolutely.
And that is one of the things, as he mentioned, that we are just happy to do, is to come and talk to a patient or their family or as a group. This is strictly no obligation.
No obligation.
Okay.
You know, we're going to come and have a
Yes.
talk with you
Yeah.
and explain to you what hospice can do. And that right there will answer a lot of questions that a family and the individual may have.
All right. Well, we are going to take a short break and include some information about Alabama A&M University. And after that break, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how can people get in touch with you if they need to have questions answered. So we are going to take a short break. Of course, this is News from the Hill here at Alabama A&M University. And we are going to give you some information about Alabama A&M University, and we'll be right back to talk more about the subject matter of hospice care.
I'm Carrie Washington. 1 in 4 women will be a victim of domestic violence. Finances are almost always a weapon of choice, taking away access to cash, destroying credit, jeopardizing jobs. Financial abuse leaves invisible bruises that can take decades to heal. But there's hope. Allstate Foundation Purple Purse makes it easier to recognize, talk about, and stop financial abuse. Help women gain control of their purse strings. Join me at purplepurse.com.
Welcome back to News from the Hill. I have 3 special guests, and we've been talking about hospice care. And we're going to talk a little bit more about hospice care, but we're also going to talk about a health fair. So right now, we're going to talk about the health fair that's up and coming, and then we are going to talk a little bit more about hospice care, how can people get in touch with you, and the type of things that they need to do to get ready, be prepared when the time comes for hospice care. But first, let's talk about the health fair.
Okay.
Well, every year, starting last year, we decided to have a health fair. And what's unique about this health fair is that we want to offer services, and we partner with different entities, business entities who have something to offer to the community. This health fair will give them an opportunity to be reacquainted with these businesses that we use a lot of times on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, absolutely. It is a great opportunity for the general public to come out and, as we were talking about earlier, to have a conversation with us about hospice. There will be everything from insurance companies there, medical equipment companies, non-medical in-home care agencies, home health agencies. There will be quite a bit of testing available to the general public, all at no charge. They'll be doing body mass index, blood pressure checks, a whole variety of things.
You're going to do the flu shots?
Flu shots. We will have some flu shots available. We've got our fingers crossed as to how many we're going to have available. But again, the great thing about it is there's no charge to the public.
All right. This takes place on what day and date and where?
This will be on Thursday, October the 23rd, from 11 to 3 at the Millet Activity Center on Oakwood University campus.
And is it open to anyone who's
Open to
interested?
anyone. We want everyone to know that this is just a great event to come out and to be able to talk to some of these folks in a low-pressure, one-to-one environment. And we're going to have door prizes and lots of good giveaways and things like that. So it'll be a great afternoon.
All right.
Let's go.
And it's not too late for vendors to actually sign up to participate.
Okay.
We want to encourage anyone to call me, Jim, or Marcia at our office at Good Samaritan off of Hughes Road, and we'll give you information on how you can participate. Because any services that are needed in the community, we don't want these individuals to not have them available to them. to them. And so therefore we want to be inclusive of everyone.
So again, this is in October.
October 23rd.
Open to the public?
Yes.
Absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
right. And still time for vendors.
Still time for
Okay.
Any funds that are raised from the event will be given to students for scholarships.
Okay.
vendors. And
Okay.
every year we award someone in the community with the Good Samaritan Award. Last year we awarded Bob Harrison. And this year we'll have a special person in the community that we'll award for the services they've done for our community.
All right then. Well, let's go back to services then. And let's talk a little bit about services and how people can, I guess, reach out and find out about those services. So how do people learn about these services? How do they reach your organization?
Well, the best thing to do is to call us, 256-772-8108. We're located in the Madison Medical Plaza at 540 Hughes Road, right next door to Lawler's Barbecue. Everybody knows where Lawler's is in Hughes. So, you walk right in the door, you can't miss us. If you want to drop by for a consultation, that would be wonderful. We'd, of course, naturally appreciate you calling first, but they can call us, check our website, which is gshospice.net. A lot of good information on the website, but we would encourage folks, if they have any questions whatsoever, to call us.
Okay.
And a lot of our listeners may be wondering, when do we call? Anytime you get a terminal diagnosis in any setting, if you're in a hospital and you've just gotten that terminal diagnosis or your prognosis has changed, give us a call. One of the unique things about Good Samaritan Hospice is that we're locally owned and operated. Janet Milton is our owner, and she is a nurse, and she's there in the office every day.
Okay.
Unlike a lot of, when Jim was talking earlier about a case-by-case basis, there's no corporate that we have to call for approval because our owner is there every single day and she looks at every single case. If in her office there's a list of every patient, so she's familiar with every single patient that we extend services to. So we like to look at it as a family approach. Although we're taking care of family, we look at ourselves as being a family too, as being part of that person's family.
I need to mention is that we can care for a patient wherever they call home. If they're living in their own home, if they're living with a relative, if they're in an assisted living facility, if they're in a skilled nursing facility. And lots of folks, they say, well, Mom's in the nursing home, why would we need hospice? Well, it's an extra set of hands and eyes on your loved one. You are getting care above and beyond what that facility can provide. So anywhere the patient calls home, hospice can come.
Absolutely.
And I just want to say it's not about dying, it's about providing that love and care when it's needed.
Well, that's a good way to end it. Love and care.
Love and care.
When needed.
When needed.
And we need it all the
time.
time. don't we?
All the time. All
Okay.
the time.
We do.
Well, thank you all
You're
for
welcome.
coming and sharing with us.
Thanks for
And I'm certain that a lot of people have learned some things they didn't know about hospice care. I certainly have.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate you having us here.
Yes.
You're welcome. I'm Elizabeth Sloan Ragland, and this is News from the Hill, coming to you from the beautiful campus of Alabama A&M University. Thank you so much for watching and listening as we bring you positive people, information, and organizations. Again, thank you so much.